and question why a governor has not provided water. That's why, Precious,
Why?
the Constitution itself has said that all of those matters under Chapter 2 should not be brought to court, and that no court shall entertain by
But
any
then what is
Nigerian. So that's the most unfortunate thing that has happened to the spectrum of human rights with respect to administration and governance in Nigeria. And you know what? That's also why development is at this level in Nigeria. I tell you, if you do not challenge those who are leading you to drive development, sustainable development, I mean, then you won't have development. It's been Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policy towards housing. Is there any even? I don't even know the name of the Minister for Housing. It's Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policy towards education. What's the name of the Minister for
so is
Education?
it
It is that the rights of citizens are being violated, whether in a brutal form as dictatorship or in the manner that the Nigerian have always done. But children in Nigeria are suffering. That's another pathetic picture I want to paint to you now. A child born in Nigeria begins to suffer from the day he's being birthed. Right there in the maternity ward that is being birthed. You know what? Now, the parents will have to pay for even that child to come to be a Nigerian. The parents will pay for that child to come. That is to
human rights for this administration. Now, some people, you don't see the person where they in touch with human rights because he's a human rights lawyer. So, some people don't liken this administration to military regime. Say, even for military regime, people get more freedom of expression for military regime past this administration. Could you address that? I think that people over exaggerate when they say those things, but I'd like to get your analysis on it, especially based on your point of view as a lawyer, a person who sabi the constitution and human rights.
one of the most fundamental rights of citizens in a democracy is the right to human rights, and not just about the general fundamental rights that we always know about. So that you imagine whether the government is letting the rights of citizens in that expression. But in the policies of government, and then in the closures, the exclusions, and all of that, citizens' rights being affected. Now, let's take the democratic space, for instance, okay, where Nigerians do not seem to have that right, that freedom to express themselves in the manner that they desire, whether it's by way of participating in elections and determining who governs them, or by way of expressing themselves in protest to policies of government or the state, then you are violating the rights of citizens. And seriously, it means that that government is not the government for the people. It's not a democratic government. Because situation where the people are unable to participate in determining who governs them, and that does not just end during periodic elections, but should continue, because they should be able to assess the performance of whoever they may have elected during that periodic election by commenting or reacting one way or another in protest to the policies that the government may be formulating. And then in Tinubu's administration, we can't count how many protests that have been shut down or condemned or attacked. It's not just Tinubu's administration, successive administrations in Nigeria. So the human rights space in Nigeria is really one that is challenged by the states. I think for me, the greatest violator of rights of citizens in Nigeria are state actors, by way of policies of government and then the actions of state actors, state agents, whether it's the police, Department of State, that's appropriately the state security services, and all other security agencies that are being used by the politicians against the people. And then there are lots of other aspects of fundamental rights or rights of citizens are being violated. Precious, permit me to just say that Nigerians who are listening and watching us to understand that it is unfortunate that our constitution is still the way it is with respect to Chapter 2. There are constitutions of African countries that have made that chapter, the provisions under Chapter 2 of our constitution, justiciable. And the explanation is this, Precious. The existential needs of Nigerians or humans anywhere in the world with respect to rights are those that relate particularly to economic rights and social rights, if you may like, include cultural rights. Apart from the fundamental rights that are enshrined in Chapter 4 of the Constitution, which are the civil and political rights, the one that we always generally know, the right to life, the right to liberty, the right to fair hearing, and all of those that are under Chapter 4 of the Constitution, from Section 33 to up to 46 of the Constitution. But what would have been most transformational, if you like, and then that will impact on the existence of citizens is what the Nigerian drafters of the Constitution have closed in under Chapter 2 of the Constitution, which is the economic and social and cultural rights of Nigerians that the Nigerian Constitution expressed as fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, rather than expressing them as they really ought to be as rights of Nigerians. That's where you find a right to education. That's where you find a right to clean environment. That's where you find a right to employment and good wage. That's where you find a right to housing. That's where you find a right to drink water that is clean and healthy for you. That's where you find a right, a lot, in fact, the right to even have self-determination with respect to protecting and preserving your culture, and then your essence and what defines you as a people. But you know what? All of these clear rights that are beginning to be enforced in other parts of the world, including some African countries, the Kenyan Constitution is taking that direction, where these rights are enforceable, are justiciable. But in Nigeria, Section 6 of the Constitution has made those rights non-justiciable. That is to say, whether the governor of your state has failed you with respect to providing clean water, good health care, free education, clean environment, that you shouldn't go to court to question him. And that's very terrible. And that's what has emboldened. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Are you serious?
Oh, yes. That's what has emboldened the governor.
So we don't have right to question.
She shouldn't bring such matters to court to come and question why a governor has not provided water. That's why, Precious.
Why? Because of immunity.
It's not because of immunity. It's because the Constitution itself has said that all of those matters under Chapter 2 should not be brought to court. And that no court shall entertain.
Sorry, sir. Then what is the function of government if we cannot query them on what they're supposed to do for us?
That is how lopsided.
If we cannot hold them accountable, then what is their function?
Why are they there? So that's the most unfortunate thing that has happened to the spectrum of human rights with respect to administration and governance in Nigeria. And you know what? That's also why development is at this level in Nigeria. I tell you, if you do not challenge those who are leading you to drive development, sustainable development, I mean, then you won't have development. The countries where you see development, people can ask questions with respect to these very existential rights, these social, economic, cultural rights. But where you cannot ask questions in this regard, meaning that if you even elect a governor today, and he's just going around flouting the wealth of the state and rubbing it on the faces of the people and failing in his responsibility to provide. And you know one thing, put it, even if it is the way this is expressed in the Constitution as fundamental objectives and directive principle, it is the objective of Nigeria that education shall be free and compulsory. It's shocking for you to hear that.
But it's not.
At the level that includes up to university level, right? Oh, but you know what? Yes, it is in their Constitution.
Yeah. No, Barrister Ekine, you know, you are giving us this thing. Make we understand. You say what's happened to our Constitution? Say that our right to get free education.
Exactly. That it is the objective, meaning that it's the aspiration of this country. And it should direct the principle, the policies of any state government and any federal government that comes. Say, look, as you make policies, remember that we get objectives. So the objective with respect to education, I be say, make every Nigerian there educated, and I make this education be free. And it will shock you. Basic education, primary, secondary, university. But you know what? When I said this provision under Section 6 will stifle development, is this. Yes, it is there, but these leaders don't care because the same Constitution has said, don't come and challenge them. So you cannot even challenge a governor for not doing that. You cannot bring a matter in court to compel a governor or a government to doing that. So with that regard, you could see them even where a governor does not provide basic primary education even, nobody can question him. Even when we have objective for clean environment, land, water, and if you like, air. But even when the air is polluted, nobody can question. When the water is polluted, nobody can question. You have a responsibility as a government to ensure that there is health care. But where there is failure of any government to provide health care for the people, guaranteed health care, maybe if you like, insured, nobody can question. So these are fundamental aspects of rights, because you asked me on the basis of rights. There are 3 generations of rights. The first, this general one of civil and political rights, is just the first generation of rights. And then you hear us talk about that alone. That's the only one that Section 46 says that if you feel that any of these rights under Chapter 4 is violated, is being violated or likely to be violated, that you can come to the court. That is when you think that your right to life, your right to fair hearing, your right to liberty, your right to freedom of expression, that you can come to court. But that you should not come to court if your right to education is being violated. That you should not come to court if your right to clean environment is being violated. That you should not come to court if your right to housing. Housing is a right, precious. The government has a
that's one of the things. I mean, the second or third most fundamental need of a human being.
That is an existential need.
So if
even in economics, elementary economics, the Maslow's needs. What are those needs? Shelter.
Of course, now food, shelter, and housing. Yes.
And then you not say shelter,
small people will ask
right
need
that we shouldn't bother about shelter. Otherwise, we should be holding some government responsible to ensure that there should be mass housing. And see the economic effect of it.
So Barrister Ekine, clearly our constitution a problem. And apart from our constitution being a problem, also the morality and perception of the people where they practice the constitution. More
of that than the constitution. More of that. More of the morality. Hey. And then the empathy, which is lacking in our leaders. And the purposefulness, which is lacking in our leaders, is even a greater problem than even the constitution. Because if they are purposeful, if they have this morality, and then they are really determined, they have the empathy of Nigerians that are suffering, the constitution is not cast on stone. Even right now, the few days I told you during the weekend were in Lagos, and then the Committee of National Assembly with respect to constitutional amendment, I think they purportedly are going around, but that going around is a fluke, seriously.
Yes, they are going around. They are going around. You know the things I hear? I hear, oh, Southwest is saying they want Sharia law in Southwest too. That's part of what I hear. I hear Southeast is asking for rotational presidency. But some of these things will be the talk away just mentioned now. I'm not sure if you don't get any person when mentioned themselves for inside those public hearings.
So those are critical issues of and you know one thing. One of the strongest tenets and pillars of democracy is human rights. A society cannot be truly expressed to be democratic if there is absence of respect of rights of citizens. While on the other side, you have manifest violation and apparent abuse of rights of citizens. Then that society is not democratic. And that's the situation of Nigeria.
All right. So going by all what you've mentioned now, do you think that the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has protected the rights of the citizens properly?
Not at all.
From everything we know.
Not at all. I took back to what has been Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policy towards housing? Is there any even? I don't even know the name of the Minister for Housing. What is Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policy towards education? What's the name of the Minister for Education?
So is it then fair? Is it then fair to Is it then fair to liken it to military regime? People think that he clamps down on dissenting voices too much. Is that fair enough?
There are different dimensions. There are different dimensions and realities with respect to the abuse of rights of citizens in the context of a military regime and a civil regime. A military regime could be brutal in the denial of the rights of citizens. in a purported civil administration, a purported democratic society, it could be a tactical denial of these rights in terms of the policies of government or the neglect in actually respecting those rights. But the end of it is that the rights of citizens are being violated, whether in a brutal form as in a military dictatorship, or in the manner that the Nigerian civil administrations have always done. But in all, Precious, where these are the fundamental questions that Nigerians should be asking our leaders. And the better time to ask these questions is even when they are coming to seek your mandate.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, to continue to even probe them after giving them your mandate.
All right.
You ask these fundamental questions.
Speaking,
what are you going to do with respect to housing? What are you going to do with respect to education of my children? You want me to vote. My child will not vote, but you want me to vote. This my vote I want to give to you should have an impact on the future of my child, who is today in basic education. But you have no provision for him at. Do you know one thing? Children in Nigeria are suffering. That's another pathetic picture I want to paint to you now. A child born in Nigeria begins to suffer from the day he's being birthed. Right there in the maternity ward that is being birthed. You know what? Now, the parents will have to pay for even that child to come to be a Nigerian. For a woman in the maternity ward to deliver a child, the parents will pay for that child to come. That is to say, all of those payments you make, you run through, you buy syringe, you buy this, you do that. Where is the health policy with respect to women going to deliver children? That is bringing a new citizen of that country whom you do not know.
Some countries pay the woman for having a child. They pay so now, say well done as a carry.
Not just that. When a child is delivered in Nigeria, God help us that that child has no complication at all. But if unfortunately by nature or whatever cause the child has any complication, that child begins to bear costs, or the parents on behalf of that child begin to bear costs, even right there in that hospital, in that health facility, whether it's a public health facility. So it means that if oxygen is needed, even for the little child that is just delivered to be a Nigerian, the parents will pay for that oxygen for the child to be alive. Now,
and you think that that's a form of discrimination, or
it is greatest undoing to the child, really. Why can't we have policies with respect to health care in such a way that certain bracket of our population, take a child, I shouldn't have a reason to pay 1 naira in ensuring that a child that has just been delivered should live in Nigeria. Maybe you will feel this more palpably if I tell you just a short story about my colleague in office, a lawyer. His wife had a complication that was even avoidable. Unknown to them that she was carrying in her system twins, 2 babies. They had presented before a medical facility, and the medical facility was so careless to know that one of the fetus, one of the babies, had already passed in the woman's body. And that was affecting the health and life of the second one. What happened was they were just indifferent, and until the situation became serious, and they were referred to the River State University Teaching Hospital. I mentioned specifically. And even when she was admitted into the River State University Teaching Hospital, I tell you, a woman that was referred from another facility into a government public teaching hospital could be there 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 7 days, and they were unable to address the situation until a consultant, and you are seeing the record on this woman's.
I hope she didn't die. I hope she didn't.
She didn't die, but it lost even the second baby, and she would have died.
Okay. Thank God she didn't die, because in that same teaching hospital I've been operated. In that same teaching hospital, I've been operated on with torchlights. Just to let you know, I haven't said this anywhere before. With torchlights, I was operated with. In fact, my phone torch was part of the torchlight I was operated.
So the question
with torchlight in that same
where
it's really crazy.
Where is
it's
the right
really,
of that
really
child?
Crazy.
That child would have been alive, at least the second one, when that child was delivered, that child needed oxygen. Do you know, like I said, I was giving an illustration how a Nigerian child could be born and then you begin to spend on that child that same moment. The father had to go pay for oxygen about 70,000 naira for whatever quantity it was, I don't know.
I still lost the
And
child.
at the end of the day, he still lost everything. So all the medical bills, the money for the oxygen for the child, and the child lost everything. That is the country that has no policy on health, has no policy with respect to child development, has no policy with respect to human rights to life.
That with what you are saying, you're all the while telling us that it is unfair right now for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his handlers to even mention re-election when they haven't met the indices. Why are they speaking English? When they never meet the things and what they're supposed to do for us already. Say now wickedness or it unfair for them to even talk out, think out, say they won't come back to office. Now we see they try to
Now
because I'm waiting
waiting it be. Let me also bring it down for food. Now waiting it be. If to say we serve the people, say we dey conscious to these issues, and say big proportion of the population of Nigeria know these issues and we really want to change. I don't think say even Tinubu himself or even Dreamer, or even those who are speaking about it, who you go tell now, because any person you go tell, the person will slap you. Any person you go tell, the person go and get angry with you.
So you feel say the people in power they take advantage of all the unenlightenment, or be the lack of education or awareness of
Absolutely. And let me tell you,
and they use
absolutely. Let me tell you how they do that. Even in the human rights movement, it is believed that the greater they are of citizens to their rights. Now, when citizens are aware of their right, is a quick strategy to reducing the violation of rights of citizens. That's why human rights education is pivotal in all human rights movements and trainings. Now, and Nigerian leaders don't know, say, education would have been a tool for Nigerians to get empowered, to probably reject all these things when a leader in government will come, they tell you how they drive Rolls Royce. And then the president in a country will tell you how people who are dying in a place, instead of showing real empathy and addressing that issue and stopping it, they talk about other things. Now, what do they do? That's why, even if the objective is in education, they will deliberately kill education. And when they kill education, you're not to be able to even know your rights. And when you don't know your rights, they can twist you and indoctrinate you and turn you even against yourselves. So Nigerians are turned against Nigerians. Otherwise, it's a crazy country where they see counter protests, even when the first protesters are protesting for better government, for improvement in the welfare of citizens, where if that thing is done by the government, it will benefit everybody. It will even touch the lives of those counter protesters. But you see them doing counter protests because they have so gone in their head in such a way that those people who have denied them education, denied them the awareness to their own rights, impoverished them, and then turn them to be so susceptible. Maybe say, if they give them 5,000 naira, they go even feel turn against their own mothers and fathers in the house. So it's a big problem, but I think if we all understand all of these and we are determined to cause a change, we really can cause a change for ourselves.
All right, so let's look at the possibility of change of governance. Now, the Tinubu's led administration, they accuse the coalition we don't come together to talk, saying, no, we can't have this, that they are all the same thing. A lot of people are like Shawore, they also accuse the coalition, say, you people are the same thing. You're old politicians. You cannot, there is no possibility of a change or anything you can do better. What is your take on that? Do we need a fresh blood or fresh group of people to come and change our country? Or should we still rally on the experiences and support of some of those people who failed in the past to also change our country? I'd like to take your take on that.
Tinubu administration and even those in government no get the moral standing, right? And the voice even to speak in condemnation of those who are forming the coalition. The people we're supposed to speak in that regard will be the rest of us Nigerians. If Shore speaks, if no, so yeah, Tinubu and no gets it because they are the same. Now, but to the extent that the crop of people who are now putting together this coalition, even me, I don't ask this question. Who then be? Not be the same people. Where are they? Don't we have their track record? Well, have they not been in those places where they forecast a change? How much change did they cause? Should we mention their names from number one to the end? How did they fare? Or is it because they are out of employment? For them, employment equals political power, political governance position. Now I come they like say they won't do anything. So if indeed you ask me, if it were possible, maybe themselves will cause that revolution we will need. I know they expect the change from those. Name the key persons in this coalition, ADC or whatever it's called. Is it the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar? Is it my own man and former governor here, Rotimi Chibuka Amechi? Or is it the one in Kaduna that was former governor as well? Or is it the David Mark himself, who has been military administrator, had been Senate president, has been... How much did they do? What we just talked about the Constitution now. He not been dead there when he been the Senate president. Why they not alter the Constitution, change and make chapter 2 of the Constitution also justiciable? So which of them we will mention? So, but be it as it may, say they don't see say things don't bad reach the level where they get to organize themselves into this coalition. But whether we are seeing this coalition as the compass to a new adventure, I don't know. For right now, for me, I am not convinced, because it's just about wrestling for power. Just the same way the All Progressives Congress came as a coalition. We also oust Goodluck Jonathan. The same way.
So you feel that what APC did was just to wrestle for power and they did not make any difference?
Exactly. They may succeed though, because if they look at the example and the experience of the All Progressives Congress, the APC, they may succeed. The People's Democratic Party don't rob us, steal us. Even most of them came on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. And then when things fell apart, all of them said they go form coalition against that government, including some of them who were governors under that platform, joined and formed the All Progressive Congress, the APC. What is happening today in ADC is exactly what APC did. So APC now came as if they were better angels. But waiting happened to today. Nothing has changed. So the same way, some of the persons where they go the coalition now, they are disgruntled by their experiences. They were in the AP, but some of them even are now, where they formed the coalition, that they even leave the APC back to the ADC. So these are the same things where those of us who are more and greater, who even have the problem of Nigeria, not there on the head of everybody, oh, precious. It will shock you to hear this one. No matter how bad they say the country be, say no light, no water, no road, no education, it's not there on the head of everybody. It's there on the head of majority of us, but it's not there on the head of these people. It's not there on the head of these people, they form coalition.
So them, they're
not there here. They're not there this country. They're just there here, but they're not there here. Okay. They don't get problem of life. They don't get problem of bad road. They don't get problem of house. They don't get problem of education. They don't get problem of health.
Then get their own road in the past. So now
they get their own private jets, and they fly.
So most of them don't come talk saying that because of the hardship of way the administration don't impose.
Are they sincere to us? Are they passing through hardship? Which hardship? Which of them? Make I count them. The hardship of say they no fit fly when I get private jets. Say the bad roads don't too bad, or the hardship of say they no fit pay the school fees of their children again, or the hardship of say their children they school where they teach them well, or the hardship of say they no get housing. Say their house rent they took cost they no fit pay. Say because much houses no they make house rent do. So which of the hardship? Or they won't pretend say they feel our hardship. We where they feel up now. Where even this morning my children they ask me of lesson fee. Or the one where house rent now, tenant they ask, office landlord. I mean the landlord they ask, office landlord they ask. So then they won't tell me say that they feel that my hardship pass, say they won't give me money, or they don't sympathize with me now. Where they don't sympathize just few years ago, now the same condition we've been there. They're no solver, and now they won't come solve them.
So what is the way forward? If the coalition members
involved
for the coalition, no be better option. waiting be the right thing when Nigerians supposed to be
The
asked.
people, the
Because
people's
people in the
revolution.
talks, because of the kind of person, how do we make that revolution happen? Shawari talks about revolution a lot, and people just look at it like whose blood will be
No, it's not
shed because
shedding
of
blood.
revolution. So how do we make that
They
revolution happen?
misinterpreted that revolution. Revolution doesn't mean war. It doesn't mean shedding blood. Revolution is a change. It could be a forced change. Revolution is a real change, total change. Revolve, turn things around. If possible, take away these people. Take away too does not also mean kill them, but get them out of the system. Do we have the power to do so? Yes. Are we much enough to
So
do
why are
so?
we not doing
Yes.
it? Now, make I tell you something. You know, say just like you talk now, do we have the power to do so? You said yes. Now, Patutomi started something where he said he wanted to have a shadow government, a government that would, model all what government is doing and showing ways it can be done differently and better to the benefit of the people. The DSS carry and go courts. Say make him not even try that thing. Say that thing against the law. Say that means in the fine way to come up President Bola Tinubu administration. He even went further to say that he's going to hold a 7.2 million man march. We go march, go National Assembly, sit down for National Assembly until National Assembly make effect the necessary changes for inside our constitution. Where go better our country. But guess what? That case is in court now. Courts don't clamp and down. Talk say make you not even move muscle. In fact, they banned him from protest. I'm sure you're aware. So what then
See,
happens? What is so? It's not like Nigerians are not talking or trying to make
pressure.
move. We are trying to. But anybody will raise
No, no,
head.
no.
The person they
No,
clamp down
you
on.
can't clamp down that kind of tsunami I want to talk about now. Now, listen. See, even me, I'm in the human rights movement, is it not? We've got to organize a number of protests. We've done them for different issues. We've succeeded in a number of them. Maybe the population of the members we needed for those specific purposes, right? Were enough. But when we want to do this total change and revolution we talk about, eh, if Nigerians pour out, okay, I tell you, there's no DSS anywhere. If you like, call them DSS, but SSS more appropriately. All the army we have in this country, how many them be? All of them put together, join them with the politicians. They will run away. Not even violence. Not that we are going to, if take that scenario, it's just that it has not happened. But I believe that if we galvanize and when the time is ripe, it will happen. If Nigerians sit somewhere, gather fully, when you no go see space for that Abuja. If na trek, people go trek come from anywhere. But we say, for now, nothing will happen again until this kind of thing happens. And then we all converge in Abuja. And then they talk of gathering of 1 million, 1.7 million, 7 million people. Nigeria is a country of 200 plus million, if that is true. If only 1/4 of that converge on Abuja, the population of Abuja is not even 10 million. So if 15, 20, 50, 30 million people are in Abuja, you don't go even find space. But so if this is dispersed at maybe strategic parts of the country, and you have where over 10, 15 million people are converged somewhere and another place, and the demand is one, and we make sure that nothing else happens. You see that place they call 3-arm zone and say villa that you can't go, you can't near. If Nigerians are trooping in there, they will pull down whatever gate that is that place without shooting anybody, without violence. And we demand that this is what must happen. And if Nigerians say President Tinubu will leave today, he will leave. But you know why it won't work? If a few persons are saying Tinubu will leave today in a corner, and then you hear the other voice, another media house is reporting a counter voice. Those are not the things that will work. And then the same people who we want to leave will now take us for granted because they've now seen people who support them.
No, we'll not say because it's not from your
Yeah, they
religion and it's
have
not
to
from your
give it
tribe. That's why
different
you don't want to
collaboration.
do. You will have that.
So when Shawore talked about revolution and it was misconstrued and deliberately so, not that they didn't understand, but they just wanted to paint it in such a way that they will criminalize it and then find a way to either quieten him like they did. Take him to court, do this and all that. Of course, we've stated here how even the judiciary has lost trust of Nigerians. How the National Assembly, the legislature, they've lost trust of Nigerians. Look at what Akpabio is doing in the Senate. So if Nigerians determine that these senators will not sit even tomorrow, they will not sit. It is not enough to carry even the entire battalion of any of the catchments in the Nigerian army to their gates to prevent Nigerians. You won't shoot everybody. If you, as you begin to shoot, you kill some persons, but you won't kill everybody. Nigerian situation will get to that point, and very soon.
Hell. So going back to the coalition now, as it stands now, what you have said, the group of people when they come to the coalition, they're not any different from the people we be say they in power now. So what is the way forward for now? As you don't talk, say, basically they call them revolution, I be the way forward, or I be the possible option. But since the revolution is not coming, how do we choose between this devil and
revolution is coming, precious? If you got my explanation, we can even do the revolution in the voting that is coming in 2027. Nigerians can do that.
When we have just two options, when we have the option of the coalition members and we have the option of President Bola Tinubu, how do we do the revolution?
Those are not the only options. Let me say here, those who have decided to form or join an existing ADC, they are not the only Nigerians. How many are they? They were able to be housed in a hall. What was the capacity of that hall? Is it because they are so powerful that one of them could mean another 100 persons? And those 100 persons, they're only able to control them because they can pay them. If you see an Amechi, if you see an Atiku, you see an El Rufai, he's a single human being. But you know what? They have this God, they have this power because there are 1,000 other persons. The only reason there are 1,000 other persons is because they can buy 1,000 consciences. But if they can buy 1,000 other persons and make one Amechi to be 1,001 persons, but if Nigerians who are not on that coalition are greater in their numbers, okay, can you check this? There has never been a presidential election since 1999 that we have recorded more than 20 million voters, not even up to. The current one that Tinubu is doing today.
Oh, no, we have had.
Sorry?
Have we not had? We had in 2007. In 2007.
No, I mean 20 million persons voting for a person to win. No person has become a president of Nigeria with 20 million votes.
No. I mean,
that's the total of all the votes of all the presidential candidates.
The winning vote.
Yes, the winning vote has never been 20 million. So, but at all times, we have had far more than that registered voters. If today we had, in the last election, about 98 or so, or 89 or 98 million registered voters, meaning that a lot more other registered voters who are not part of this ADC, who are not even part of this coalition or in APC or in PDP. So if Nigerians are determined, we can even make, do you know what? We can actually even make the revolution in one of these political parties. What if we all flood into the coalition party and say to Atiku that is not you, and say to Tinubu is not you, I mean, and to Amechi is not you, say to Erufai is not you, but this is the person who want to be the candidate. But you know what? They are so squeezed the political system and process in such a way that we seem not to be able to exert this power that we have. The electoral umpire assists them. The electoral law assists them in such a way that if you say, okay, let's do primaries, why should we have such options in our electoral act for political parties to have a candidate determined that it could be? Then when you go to that point, it now becomes the political elites in that political party that will determine who will be the candidate and say that's a consensus.
That will make that consensus.
Why shouldn't we have a single way of getting a candidate and say it shall be by the open, I mean, the members of that political party, direct primary, all members of the political party. See how it will happen. If you say all registered members of the political party shall determine the presidential candidate of that party, and the only way, the only option is direct primary.
Instead of delegates, all of us, a few people. Yes.
What if all of us register into the ADC and say we are all registered members and we are eligible to vote to determine who the candidate of that party will be, and we decide against the article, decide against the other person, and bring out our candidate. But because they skip the political process, even in the Electoral Act, apart from direct, they say there can be indirect, so that they can manipulate the process. There can be consensus, so that they lobby and pay people and pay $13,000 and pay all sorts of $1,000, and then you influence the process And then a political elite, those who think they are demigods, will not determine who will be the candidate. So at the end of the day, at the general election, Nigerians don't have option but to vote for any one of these
All right.
candidates. So there are options we
All
have,
right.
but
So
can we be determined enough to say this is the time? Or if it's not 2027, when should be that time? But that time will come in.
I do believe so.